Hello, my name is Jared Goodroad, and for my class project I developed a simple worldwide weather checking application. The general idea is that I wanted users to type in the address of the place they wanted to check the weather for, and it would be added to a list. And then from this list, users can view the location on a map view and retrieve basic weather information about said place. The user can then adjust the location coordinates by moving the map view around. I thought that would be a cool feature to add. Here is the class diagram I made for this project. Of course, it doesn't mention the UI kit and map kit elements, such as labels or buttons or things like that. But it does track all the global variables and the methods for my classes and extensions and such. The three main controllers, the table view controller, the add view controller, and the regular view controller, represent the three main views that the user can navigate to. Initially, they start at the table view controller, which is the main view. It is the first page that the user sees, and initially it is a blank table view, but the user can click a button in the upper right to add a new place location. This segues to the add view controller, which the user can enter the address they want and save it as a string. This address will then be sent back to the table view controller to be added to core data. Clicking the place row in the table, the row for each individual place, the table view cells, will open that place's view controller. This controller contains the longitude and latitude coordinates, which are obtained via geocoding and then displayed to the user using labels. Here the user can request weather info, which will be returned in a basic description, such as clear sky, heavy rain, mist, cloudy days or haze. The list for possible weather conditions is really quite thorough. This is parsed from a JSON API call to openweathermaps.org, which is the API I'm using. It's very useful and free, and I would recommend it to anyone doing something similar. A user can also modify the specific longitude and latitude coordinates. So, like, if you wanted to see what the weather was like over your house, and you didn't know your coordinates, but you knew like relative, like, oh, if I'm in Phoenix, I just follow this road down, etc. You can do that by just moving, clicking and dragging in the map view panel, and that would change the coordinates in real time. It'll update the labels and such. Unwinding back to the table view controller, the user can choose to delete rows by changing the editing style, or in other words, by swiping to the left and hitting the delete button, or they can add more, or they can leave the application. That pretty much covers the gist of that. Here is the MVC diagram. I'll give you a moment to soak it in. I've effectively gone over the features. This just represents the flow between the model, the controller, and the view, and how they interact and such. To go into more detail, the main controller calls the weather API, lists and updates the various addresses for the locations, retrieves that access data from the user, from the view, particularly sends new data to the core data and updates the view with new data. It also handles user interaction. Heading to the view when the user taps on buttons or generally navigates the application. The view will react to this. It'll display a list of the addresses as well as update the table view, maps, and other location information. Going back to the controller, it updates the table view with new places and updates the detail view with weather information. The controller notifies the model when place information has been changed and when the map location and weather are computed. The model in turn stores the data for places, namely just a string, and then will notify the controller of data changes. So whenever a new place is saved to the model, it'll then update in the controller, which links right back to the controller. The data uses core data to be persistent, so that the user who wants to check a location frequently does not need to re-add it every time. Users can add and delete places easily, which is another key feature. You can also enter any address from around the world and retrieve accurate weather descriptions. So you can check, see what the weather is like in Moscow or Indiana. It doesn't matter. However, the info itself is just a description of the weather and does not contain information about the temperature or the humidity or the wind speed or anything like that. It's very simple, hence the name Simple Weather App. There's some latency issues when it comes to manipulating the map view and accessing weather info that requires more than one button press than should be necessary. I'm not sure exactly what causes the first issue. I'm guessing it's just the map view takes some time to update when you move it. And as for the second, there was some asynchronization issues that I couldn't resolve in time. Also, I never tested the system with incorrect addresses, like random nonsense, for example. And I say that's a pretty significant limitation in hindsight, but it just didn't occur to me at the time. I am particularly proud of the core data implementation. I had struggled with with core data on previous assignments, but I finally figured out that by centralizing access to the core data within a single controller, as opposed to trying to access it from multiple different controllers, and by utilizing local data to store the core data into an array, that this would help me effectively embed the system into my multi-view application and not have to worry about how it interacts with the table view or how it interacts with other controllers, because all the information is just sent back to one controller, and then the information is just updated. When it updates the core data, it updates the array that is then used to populate the table view. So that makes everything simple, effective. Nothing's going to cause any problems there. I've learned that it's generally better to work within your means to create a simple but effective app than it is to create a complex, undercooked application. My initial ideas for this project were very complicated, and I just had to kind of whittle them down until I found something that I felt was doable but still useful. I learned some good methods for pre-planning apps using diagramming. The MVC and class diagrams were very helpful. You saw them earlier. I also learned how to utilize map view delegates for manipulating the map view directly. That was definitely interesting, and it's something that I didn't really grasp the first time around, but I feel I now have a better understanding of it. As for suggested improvements, if I had more time or foresight, I probably could have improved the visual design. Right now it's very bare bones, very bland. It's not aesthetically pleasing. A lot of white backgrounds, very few images. I tried to add some near the end, but they didn't come out as I anticipated. I would have definitely added more detail to the weather info. Like again, humidity, temperature. Temperature mainly is the one that I probably would have added. And I would have likely wanted to expand the features more, perhaps to include options to compare weather conditions between locations. So if you have like family in like Illinois or something, and you're trying to say like, well, what's the weather there compared to the weather here? Metrics like that could be definitely useful. Also good if you're planning a trip, would have probably been useful for those types of features. Right now you just have to flip through the locations manually. Anyways, that pretty much concludes my presentation. I wanted to thank you for your time, and have a pleasant day.